What truly scares you? Serious. What human beings are able to do. You never know if the person next to you could snap. Yeah, it's crazy. Sometimes I'm in public and I think I could kill the dude next to me right now if I wanted, but then I'm like, WTF no. Those are intrusive thoughts and many people get them. I do. What separates you and I from a psychopath or crazy person is that we realize that it's wrong, that there are consequences, and we on some level care about that stranger. Cancer. Watched my dad die a slow painful death from that crap. Scares the absolute heck out of me. Yeah, I'm 20 and I have cancer. I'll probably survive it, but it's taken a huge toll on my mental health. It's fucking ridiculous and I hate it so much. Loneliness. Not the I have no partner kind of loneliness, but the kind of loneliness where I'm old and have nobody to talk to rely on, to call, to see. No family, no friends, no ancient colleagues, and wondering at which point in my life it all went wrong so much that it led me to this lonely heck. Couple with that, boredom. Waking up and not really needing to do anything that day, week, month. My parents are pretty bored. Glad they are still here, but wonder about being where they are. But no spouse. I already don't have friends calling or visiting. This is really silly, but being home alone and sitting watching or doing something at night when the curtains aren't drawn. I can't see anything out but something could see in. I live in the middle of nowhere, so the idea someone could just be watching me with such ease sacred the living shit out of me. This is not silly. This normal human instinct. You never know what could be outside watching you. It's a scary world. I feel the same way. I shut all of my curtains blinds when it's night. I also keep my doors locked 24/7. My husband said as a kid his parents never lock the door, even at night, because they live in a smaller city and it's supposed to be safe. The idea of not locking my doors at night physically still scares me, even if the chances of being broken into are so minimal. It's because I've been broken into twice as a child. Once whilst I was sleeping. It gave me sleep paralysis and still scares me. Losing one of my kids. I honestly don't know what I would do if one of them got sick or was in an accident. I can't sleep, have nightmares about it all the time. Child loss is devastating. I will never recover from my daughter's death. It changed my being to the core. The future and not knowing if I'll be able to make it. A quote from Marcus Aurelius that might help. You'll face the future as you faced the present using the same tools that protected you in the past. I've paraphrased that because I cannot remember the exact quote, but the meaning is the same. You faced challenges in the past and overcome them. You'll use the same methods to overcome future challenges. I'm not mentally prepared to accept my friends and family members dying one day. I just have no idea how I'll continue living with my loved ones who literally raised me, especially my mum and dad. My dad died a month ago, 44 days to be exact. I'm 37 years old and wasn't prepared for life without him. It's hard to think we'll never talk to him again. Hug him. Tell him I love him. I've been told it gets easier and maybe it does, but it's such a significant loss to me. I don't think you'll ever mentally prepare for it, no matter how much time you get. The passage of time. Every second that goes by won't ever come back, and I'm slowly crumbling to dust as approximately half my life is gone, and I've become sympathetic to the dreams I had in the past, while I sit waiting to be undone by forces beyond my control. You might be comforted by eternalism. Einstein actually wrote a letter about it to a friend's widow to comfort her. The basic idea is that past, present, and future are all equally real. We can only experience life one moment at a time. But that doesn't mean the other moments don't exist. It's consistent with the theory of space-time. That space and time are both part of the same fabric of reality. In the same way that a place continues to exist when you leave it, a moment does too. The knowing I'm alone, and I don't have the courage to actually do something for my good. I don't wanna, and it scares me to even try to figure out why. Bro, same. It's the worst feeling. When you want to try something, then your brain imagines people laughing at you. Being paralyzed, having my movements restricted, being buried alive, I have severe ADHD, so I constantly have to fidget to remain cool and to calm me down. So the idea of not being able to use parts of my body kinda overloads my brain and sometimes sends me into small anxiety attacks. The worst part of the idea of not being able to use my arms or control any of my movements is that I couldn't even have power to end my own life, and I would have to suffer with it for years. As someone who has been paralyzed from the neck down, you have every right to fear it. Duck, does it suck? Like, I don't wish that on anyone, except the worst of the worst people. And it's even worse when you can feel everything and anything that touches you is like a ducking third-degree burn. That's what I had when I was 3. Duck you, transverse myelitis. Duck you. The idea that my house will catch on fire while I'm not home and my dog will die alone in the fire. This happened to me in 7th grade. My family lost everything we owned. 2 dogs, and I personally lost 6 beloved fish. We have good insurance and family friends, but the fact of the matter is that it brings a dull ache with you for a long time. I've had a dream for as long as I can remember. I've wanted the same thing for over 24 years. No matter how much I struggle or skimp and save, I just cannot catch a break and achieve it. I want a small house with some land in a rural area. I worked hard to get the money saved up to get there, but I've been so hard countered by life and RNG bullshit that I'm close to giving up. So my fear is that no matter what I do, I'll end up abandoning my dreams in raw desperation. It is a special feeling when you're so poor it costs too much to live month to month for you to save money. Giving up on something you've wanted for so long is such a nightmare. I hope things will get better for you and that you'll be able to get your small house in a rural area. The concept of Alzheimer's, forgetting everything you have ever experienced since you ever existed and not even knowing it. I highly recommend to anyone wanting to know more about Alzheimer's and dementia to listen to Everywhere at the End of Time. It's a 6-hour-long album made with 1920s-40s music slowly degrading over 6 hours, and it can get pretty depressing. Going through life without living up to my true potential. That is scary. Damn, that's going to mess with me. This will only remain scary as long as your main purpose is to impress. Once your goal becomes to just enjoy life, your potential power fantasy only matters in so much it helps you live life. My deepest fear is of one day accidentally or negligently killing someone. Every time it comes up in the news, I fall down this horrible empathy hole where I try to imagine living with the knowledge guilt about what I've done for the rest of my life. And I really don't think I could handle it. I'm scared of driving because I don't think I'm confident or skilled enough to operate a machine that could kill someone so easily. I agree about driving. I don't think people think often enough about just how dangerous what they are doing is. Being raped. It freaks the shit out of me. I live in Brazil and rape here is something completely ignored. To the point where victims have the literal semen of rapists inside them. Doctors run the tests. They confirm the identity of the guy. And he doesn't get arrested. It's a real struggle to get some justice here. So the fear I have of the physical pain of being raped, the emotional pain, then later the humiliation of probably not being able to get any justice. It just scares me. Death. The idea that I will one day just cease to exist and that there will be nothingness for the rest of eternity is just such a frightening thought. I take comfort in knowing that if that's what happens, when I die I won't even be aware of it. Death. I completely understand that life is finite and has an end without exception, and I never thought about it before I was sent to fight in Afghanistan. It actually didn't hit me until my 3rd combat deployment. But ever since then, I have this non-stop fear of death that eats away at me every single day. I worry about death so much now that I'm barely able to live my life. It's like death has already won. Edit to fix typos. Aneurysms. No warning signs. No symptoms. You're just going about your life, then bam. Lights out. It's terrifying to realize your life can just end in the time between 2 heartbeats. Aneurysms are actually surprisingly survivable and aren't the 1 minute you're there and the next you're gone death sentence people think they are. There's a 60% survival rate. What they really are is a bubble or blockage in your brain that when it bursts causes a hemorrhage. The bleeding into your brain causes a hemorrhagic stroke. There is a 66% chance of permanent neurological damage. But what that damage is depends on the extent of the hemorrhage and where it's located. My father had an aneurysm almost 20 years ago now. He's still alive, very active, and in the best shape of his life. He has a permanent limp and his right hand does not have full functionality. He can write with it, but not well. His aneurysm was close to the back of his brain, but affected the left side more than the right. He had to work on recovering speech, but not comprehension. He didn't lose much cognitive function, but had to relearn a lot of movement. Don't get me wrong. They're scary and serious, but they do have symptoms once they rupture. The key indicator is usually a very sudden the worst headache of your life and other stroke-like symptoms rather than the lights out dead in a second trope you see in pop culture. Only about 15% of people with a ruptured aneurysm die before they reach the hospital due to the severity of the internal bleeding. As with most brain injuries, the most important thing is to get medical attention as quickly as possible. Having a girlfriend, or whoever I end up marrying, die on me randomly, like a freak accident or something. Like the thought of getting that phone call, text, or the cop at my door saying she's gone scares the ever living shit out of me. I've been there. My high school sweetheart rode a Kawasaki Ninja. We were together for 2 years, but she moved smack in the middle of our relationship. She made the trip to me to celebrate our graduations. We had a great day and everything was normal. Then she left. The next day was my graduation ceremony. Went through with it. Whatever. A week later I was wondering why I hadn't heard from her. Maybe she was busy with her own graduation. Called her house phone. Her younger brother picked up. I asked if she was home. Silence. It was really strange and awkward. After what felt like an eternity, but was most likely like 5 seconds, her father grabbed the phone and told me she never made it back. She was hit by a truck that ran a stop. I stood there, silently. All I heard was my name from him, and I hung up the phone. I sat there for a good 30 minutes in silence. I called a friend who lived a few blocks away and calmly told him my girlfriend passed away and asked if he could walk with me to another friend's house to spend the night because I didn't think I could do it alone. He said of course. I got dressed, walked outside, made it down a block, and fell to my knees crying. My friend ran up to me, helped me up and walked me, all while I was inconsolably crying. Spent all night and morning crying. Was a shell of a person for a good few years when normally I'd be described as a happy-go-lucky kid. This was about 14 years ago. It still hurts, but I moved on long ago. Sorry for the rant, lol. Edit. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who shared your stories and thoughts. It really meant the world to me, and I'm really glad to have shared this with you all. I know we are all strangers on the internet, but it truly means a lot and has put a lot of smiles on my face. You're all amazing. And if you're going through a tough time yourself, I know it sucks to hear it, and I know it's cliche, but believe me, it does get better, and I hope you will become even stronger and better for it. I'm really happy for this. I wish everyone an amazing life. And again, thank you so much. Loud noises like fireworks and thunder. My reasoning is actually kinda sound. I have these asshole neighbors who like to set off fireworks in their backyard. And one day, when I was outside feeding my animals, horses, dogs, and chickens, they set some fireworks off, and one seemed to be defective or something. Cause it came in my direction and literally exploded like 10 feet above me. I don't know what kind of ducking fireworks they were using, or if they were normal, but that shit had me feeling dizzy and my ears were ringing and in pain. So hearing loud noises just makes me anxious now. What truly scares me is sleep paralysis. Jesus titty ducking Christ, have they gotten worse as I got older? Used to be just being awake, but not being able to move. Then I heard voices over thunderstorms. Now it's shadow figures in the corner. What's next? Freddy Krueger forcing his way through my ceiling. The idea of solipsism, that you're the only conscious mind to exist and everyone is an illusion created by you. But like, then how does the world function? That implies that we are literally trapped in our mind, making an entire world with only one real consciousness, yourself. The possibility of WWII. I've always been interested in military conflict history. The way things are going with China, it's not looking good. I live in Australia, and although we have a solid deal with the USANZUS Treaty, if either one of us is attack threat and then basically by law the other has to jump in and other countries, this conflict would be absolutely devastating. It would dwarf World War I and WWII with casualties. People view WWII as so long ago. Something like that would never happen again. Well, it wasn't that long ago. And that's exactly what the world thought after World War I. As soon as China invades or attacks Taiwan, it's on. How far the conflict would go is anyone's guess. My guess is Russia would jump in for sure for economic and strategic reasons. Our military is tiny. 58,000 deployable troops across all three branches: Army, Navy, Air Force, and we don't have sufficient defenses against air attack or invasion. No one's armed here either. This truly scares me, because one, it could happen. And to the most precious thing to me is my 9-month-old daughter, so the future is more important to me than ever. The only way out is a mutual destruction conclusion from both sides, similar to the Cold War. However, I think China is extremely confident and will only continue to grow even more so. The modern world is more fragile than ever. A glass cannon of advanced comforts. People are not rooted in basic production, agriculture, and hunting anymore. It wouldn't take nuclear war for 1 billion people to die in a single month. I'm afraid of anything that would cause me to lose my sense of hearing and sight. Also, loss of use of my hands. The things I enjoy most out of life are scuba diving and playing the ukulele. Hearing and sight would greatly detriment my ability to enjoy scuba diving. Use my hands would eliminate my ability to play my instrument. I guess I also need my hearing for that as well, lol. The concept of an eternity and lack of consciousness. Aka. What comes after death? I'm not afraid of dying. If I die, I die for a reason. I'll accept my fate, whatever it may be. But what scares me is death. We have no clue what truly lies beyond, if it's nothing or everything. The concept that at some point I, the one thinking this up and writing about it, not the physical body and mind, but more than that, could just stop existing terrifies me. More than that is an eternity. I'm not constantly in fear every day, because I know I will die. I know that my life will culminate into one thing. But with an eternity, the idea that it won't end is what scares me. I don't know if there's an afterlife. And I don't know which one I'd go to if there are multiple. The only two I want are infinite reincarnations at any time period, or to just become a bodiless entity that can roam the universe and pause time, except from its perspective at will. But that eternity, and the possibilities of what comes after death, is what truly scares me.